Welcome once more to GMF Talk, where we discuss the latest trends in journalism and media. I'm your host, Sertan Sanderson, and today I'm about to do something that I've never done before in my life. I'm going to talk to someone who tries to predict the future. And no, I'm not talking about a fortune teller, if that's what you're thinking. My guest today refers to herself as a futurist. Angela Oguntala is the director of Grayspace, which is a foresight consultancy. And I'm not quite sure what that means yet, but first things first, welcome to the show, Angela.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, I already have so many questions, but let's start with how you define yourself and your line of work. So you advise organizations on issues relating to systematic change and help them move into the future, right? So from your point of view, what would you say are some of the perhaps biggest challenges that we face in the future that really need addressing?
So much of the information that we are presented with, this fast information, all of these disjointed nuggets about the challenges that we see in front of us, it feels too complex. And we're told that all the time. Technology is accelerating at a certain pace that's leaving us with a kind of anxiety to understand why and how certain decisions are being made on our behalf. The world is so interconnected. Of course, we are living through a pandemic that has made everything really salient. And I think all of these things together, the fast information, technology accelerating, just our ideas around change happening fast. There's a lot of fast that we're kind of indoctrinated with. And this can leave us with a sense of, you could say, futility. Like, I don't know how I can impact or shape any of these things that are happening because they're too big, they're too complex, they're too systemic. And I think that is the biggest challenge, because we need to reframe that in order for people to start contributing to shaping futures in a useful, productive way. Because that is exactly the way the future happens. People get together, we collect together, and we say, our world was built by design. And if we don't like the way things are going, we can collect together to design things differently. But if we are feeling this sense of inevitability, that we're kind of just careening towards certain outcomes and there's nothing that we can do about it, then that's never going to lead to healthy, productive, balanced futures.
You speak about agency there, and that to me sounds rather individualistic in a way. So, what about larger collectives such as companies and governments? Do they perhaps have a harder time to adapting to what tomorrow perhaps may hold?
And one of the most promising things that we can see is that individuals do have an easier time adapting to the future than you could say larger collectives, because we live in embodied ways. You can even see throughout this pandemic, we were presented with a new reality and we had to respond to it on the ground, in our families, in our communities. And so when it comes back to agency, we can see the effects of our actions. We can see what happens when we engage with futures of food, futures of learning, having to pivot and do things on the fly. And that gives us a sense of well-being, a sense of meaning. When we can see those things, we can see the effects, we can see the consequences of us acting. And what's promising about that is that the individual clearly is not separated from the larger collectives, but our agency, our actions influence the collective, whatever that is, maybe your family, your communities, and those things influence those larger systems. So it's all connected. But I think the most important thing that we can do is kind of bring that back into focus to say we do have agency. Like, yes, things are complex, but the only way to shape things is to get together and to decide on a direction to travel towards, and then to actively start participating towards that. But clearly we can't do that if we have this sense of things are too complex, things are too broken, things are too fast, and there's nothing I can do about it. And the future is just going to kind of sit on my happen upon me. And that's that.
So what I take away from what you're saying is a sense of empowerment through agency as a means to own the future, to navigate the future. You even mentioned interesting concepts like the future of food, something which I had never thought about before. Now, here at the DW Global Media Forum, we're taking a deliberate look at the future as well. Our theme this year is Shaping Tomorrow Now. And most of what we do relates to newsrooms and reporting and media and so on. So I guess what I would like to hear from you or learn from you is, can you tell us how we, us newsmakers, can perhaps create a more vibrant, a more hopeful tomorrow for journalism?
I think something really foundational for anyone, especially newsmakers who want to create this vibrant future, want to create a more harmonious, more healthier pathway towards the future, is really starting to question some of the, you could say, foundational myths that we have told that have allowed us to create the world in a certain way. So we have a lot of myths around speed, even the concept that time is money, and some of these things, which seem kind of like fluffy ideas, are not fluffy at all. They are incredibly consequential because they guide us towards doing things in a certain way. And I think one of the things that we can really question, one of the things that newsmakers, especially media organizations, can question, is this idea through speed, through convenience, that we should always be creating seamless experiences for people, for audiences. We should be creating things that feel familiar. We should be delivering the news in recognizable ways. We know that our recommendation algorithms also work to support that. They're working to create these seamless experiences. But I think we can question, should that be the goal? A seamlessness that removes all possible friction from the way we take in the news, from the way we take in content. And I think that if we look around at the current state of a fractured world, a more polarized world, we can question whether at this point we need to pull back in some positive frictions, whether we frame that as more diversity, more difficulty, even obscurity, like having us kind of contend with not just what feels familiar, our existing preferences, our existing, information spheres, but really working to stretch and to bridge our imaginations. And so there is no concrete answer to this question, but I think everything can serve as a prompt. So newsmakers can think about, what does positive friction actually mean? What would that mean in the way we deliver the news? How would we pull that back in? And I think that a lot of my responses, as you might start to notice, are going to center around these kind of design challenges, design opportunities where there is no concrete answer, but we can take a concept like positive frictions, perhaps like even slowing down, because we spoke about all of this fastness is a lot of what is contributing to this sense of unease and anxiety and inability to shape future. So we can take concepts like that. What does it mean to add friction that is useful, to stretch our imaginations? What does it mean to slow down if everything is so fast? And we can start experimenting around those prompts and those questions.
Thank you. Thanks. And thank you to our viewers, of course. You guys perhaps might also want to take on Angela's advice and slow down in the future. Something to think about there, I think. And if you do have any questions or comments, well, you know the drill. There's a comments section below where we are eager to hear from you and learn more about the things that interest you the most. So until next time on GMF Talk, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay curious.